Well, and when you and I were kids, you had to suit up for PE every day and get out there and work up a sweat for an hour.
But
and that's not required of everybody now.
No, there have been other priorities, but the other thing, of course, is that it is a situation that my dad used to say that the family kind of went to hell when we moved into the family room, because there was a time when everybody sat down at the supper table, which was the evening meal, and we talked about what happened in the day, and you talked about if you were going to school, what happened at class, and you never was able to get away with the idea that it was a bad teacher. I mean, if there was a problem with a teacher, it was always my fault. It was never ever the teacher's fault, and I suspect that we don't see very much of that in today's environment.
Yeah, no, I don't think we do either. And when you and I were kids, if somebody called the house from school, or if a neighbor grabbed me by the scruff of the neck and hauled me to the front door, my parents' first reaction was, "What'd he do now?"
That's right.
Now it's, "What are you doing touching my kid?"
Yeah.
And that's the loss of something that is not good for this culture.
No, and you're absolutely right, and we do in fact have a situation of where the California legislature in general and specifically, we see a lot of bills that we could call nanny bills, nanny government bills, where we're asking the government to do something for us that we, for whatever reason, are not doing for ourselves. In my mind, that's, first of all, it's a terrible waste of our time. We've got some real priorities in the state that we ought to be addressing. For example, the number one issue that we're looking at today is that we still have a budget that has a structural deficit.
And it's not insignificant. It's several $billion.
Not insignificant. And when you take a look, by the way, and there's some good things that have occurred. For example, when we begin to talk about paying down debt, I mean, that makes a lot of sense. But when you use a credit card to pay down the debt, I mean, that's a different kind of problem.
It's just more debt.
Ultimately, you got a situation of where in fact, we're going to have to recognize that we're going to have to reduce our spending, and we simply have great difficulty getting that done in this building.
Well, and in the next couple of years, we are, and I talked about Ted Gaines and Sam Onestad about it only moments ago, we are likely to be looking at declining revenues in the next year or two because the economy has softened.
Everything, we began to think that we could, in fact, work our way out of this if the economy was strong, and I certainly give Governor Schwarzenegger a great deal of credit for selling California outside of California and other states and around the world. But, the interesting thing is the number one economy driver in the state of California, the number one industry is construction. And so when you have a housing boom or slowdown, it has a dramatic impact on the state
ripple
budget.
Effect really affects
Absolutely.
The entire economy.
Absolutely.
And yeah, we're in a very soft spot right now as far as the building industry goes. Let's talk about this health care plan for a minute, this universal health care proposal. We've seen this tried in a couple of other places. Primarily, Tennessee is the prime example of just a dread failure to anticipate the actual costs of offering universal health care. Does this plan differ dramatically from that one? It doesn't seem to me as though it does.
No, let me just give you a little bit of history. Our colleague in the Senate, Sheila Kuehl, last year introduced a bill and indicated that we would in fact save some money with universal care. For those of us that have some experience in the healthcare industry, the insurance business, for example, recognize that there will be lots of money that comes up as a result of the implementation of something like an 840 or whatever the bill was called. I guess the same last year as it is this year. But at any rate, this year, by the way, she put a component on top of it that said anyone who was making over $200,000 would have to make an extra contribution in terms of their tax. But what we basically know is that if you have universal care, you throw out everything we've got, and you begin to talk about covering everyone in the state of California, that's probably another $7 or $8 billion more. Is it going to take us a year or 2 years to get there? But the answer is yes. It will ultimately cost us somewhere between $7 and $8 billion more than we currently are paying. By the way, there are 6 plans in the marketplace. 2 of the plans have been put out by colleagues on my side of the aisle. The governor has a plan. Sheila Kuehl has a plan. The Assembly and Senate Democrats have a plan. We begin to talk about not health insurance as such. We've begun to talk about health care accessibility. Because, you know, Phil, you can have health care, health insurance, and not be able to find a doctor. So what?
Well, that is not an uncommon problem.
And so what we need to have is that we need to, in fact, have some health care clinics to take care of people when they have some needs that are more like colds and flus and shots and that sort of thing, as opposed to trying to dismantle the whole system.
Well, and you know, when we talked about this just a couple of weeks ago, there was an article in the news about the move by Walmart and some of the big pharmacy retailers to open clinics in their stores.
Rite Aid is talking about doing that. Walmart is talking about doing it. If you get Rite Aid doing it, you get Walmart doing it. The next thing you know, Costco will be doing it, and the private sector will get engaged in having some of these clinics where people can go in and get some preventive kind of medical care. And you know, it really is the preventive care that builds the foundation, so that by the time you know you can catch something in the early stages, it doesn't magnify, doesn't get you to a situation of where you've got some sort of catastrophic illness or incident that becomes more difficult and more expensive to treat.
And I like it just because it is a free market solution that I think is viable.
Absolutely. The reality is that when you get to the point where you have universal care, which is a government system, single pay, for example, and that's what Ms. Kuehl's bill does, single pay, you then have a situation where the cost control will you simply have no cost control.
Yep.
You do, in fact, have a situation of where you have to raise more money to pay for the expenses.
Well, as P.J. O'Rourke said years ago, if you think healthcare is expensive now, wait until it's free.
I understand.
And I think he's absolutely right. It's 10:46. We've got to get to a break. Senator Dave Cox, thanks for coming by. I wish we had more chance to chat, but we're running you guys through here like cattle today.
Well, Phil, thanks very much. And listen, if you ever decide you want to take a vacation, you know, I tried this once. I think I could probably do this. I probably wouldn't want to give up my daytime job, but I'd sure welcome the opportunity.
You know what? If I could get a day job, I'd probably quit doing this. Dave, it's good to see you.
Thanks
you
very
so
much, Phil.
Senator Dave Cox. It's 10:46. We're at Capitol Clear Speak today. You're listening to the Phil Cowan Show on Talk 650 KSTE. We'll be right back.
You're still obligated.
And that concludes today's show. I'm Senator Dave Cox. Thank you for watching.
For more information, you may contact Senator Cox at his office in Sacramento. Call 916-651-4001. Or you can email him, senator.cox@sen.ca.gov. Thank you for watching the Capitol Report.